Yes, the most iconic way to start. Give me a second while I flip my camera upside down and Atticus joins us. Oh man, this is so me. It's so me. Okay, are we in business? I apologize, you guys. I may have to adjust my camera a little bit, but we can talk a little bit about what we're doing here. To be quite honest with you, it's back to 6:30, and I realized this is the first time I've ever scheduled a live. And so I saw that the chat was already going because it was scheduled, and the live chat started. Hey, Atticus. Of course, it's not a party unless he's here. So, hi, Leaf. Okay. This is so frustrating because this thing wants to hang out very high. Okay, so we may have to just deal with, oh, I know what I did earlier. Did this. Okay. Do we have any mods in the room yet? Because I totally gave them all kinds of different information. We're doing this at 6. We're doing this at 6:30. We're doing this at 6:15. What time are we doing this? Hey, buddy. Kat. Everybody's saying Kat. Hi, Mariana. Hey, Attica, say hi. Maybe if I bug you the way you bug me, will you leave me alone? My God. So like I don't even have enough water. I had no time to do anything, but that's okay. I'm really excited to do this. So I have not caught any of the chat up until now. And I don't know that I am going to be reading a ton of the chat. So here's kind of what I had in mind for this. We're going to try this I want to try this on a weekly basis for a few weeks, like maybe give it a month. And because a lot of you wish that I could do 2 videos a week, I wish I could do 2 videos a week, but right now with a full-time job, that's just like not happening. But I do want to connect with you guys more often. The funny thing is that I just like, I can give commentary on topics, but I'm never going to be able to report things as they're coming out. There's just no way. I think it's funny because as I was going into this, I don't know if any of you guys also saw that Philip DeFranco posted a video like right before I came on, and the title said something like, "Oh, the situation with David Dobrik just got worse." I'm like, of course it did. And of course I'm about to talk about this without whatever new information there is. So that's okay. You guys know me at this point. So let's see. Hey, Rosie. So I don't know how many people are here. 153. I don't know if all of you guys are following me on social media anywhere or have any idea what we're doing here. Jana switched from DeFranco to watch me. I am so honored to hear that. But yeah, so if you haven't followed me on social media to hear like what this is, like why does it say, I don't know if you guys see the custom thumbnail because it went up right before I went live, but we've jokingly called this new concept basically a podcast. So what I want to do, okay, Atticus, I need to trim your nails because you are hurting me. You're hurting me. Go. You're hurting me. And he's going to mess with my webcam on the way out. But basically, what I'd like to do is come on here on a weekly basis, talk to you guys for an hour, maybe a little bit longer if there's a lot to talk about. You guys are seeing in real time what happens when I film. That's why you get all those cuts of Atticus. And they're so cute and they're so funny when they're edited. But you are obnoxious. I have a hard enough time keeping my train of thought as it is. And if you didn't see, what I would love to be able to do is take questions and topics from the audience. Maybe we will be able to talk about things that are a little more current than I'm able to do with my regular videos. Okay, get out of here. If this doesn't stop, I may have to like run him out and shut the door. Get down, Papa. But yeah, talk about more current things or maybe just things I don't talk about on my channel. some of you guys have said like, hey, we want to talk about interior design. We want to talk about your life and things like that. And just, I really am trying to focus and kind of hone my regular channel videos into a specific something. But lives don't really, like, in terms of analytics and just kind of like the organization of my channel, we can be just a little bit more loose and more open. I can be more honest about certain things, or not more honest, I'm honest, but more open about certain things. If you guys want to know, what did you mean by that thing you tweeted? Perhaps we can talk about it. Maybe you can ask me things about my personal life. I do like talking about that stuff. I am willing to probably share too much. So yeah, so that's kind of the idea here. And I've told you guys that I don't want to get too wrapped up in the chat as it's happening. I would love to go back each time and see what you guys are all saying as I kind of rewatch relaxed. So if there is something that you want to talk to me about, I've given a few options in terms of like priority, where these topics and questions will come from. You can email my email address, hello@helloleash.com. There's also basically a pod, which is the Basically a Podcast Twitter account that is new, that I don't know if I'm going to do much with it, but you can DM that account. And then some other options are, if you're a patron, you can send me a DM. Patrons will also be priority, as well as, of course, if anybody were to send a super chat. I'm not asking you to, but it happens usually when I do a public live, so I do want to honor those and give priority to them too. So those are kind of the three groups that will gain priority in terms of what we'll talk about. And otherwise, my mods may be grabbing questions from the audience if we have time and shooting them over to me in DM. So even though I can't read all of your chats in real time, I may see them if one of my mods sends them over. So first of all, I see a couple people here that need their wrenches. So I'm going to do that really quick. And I don't know that you guys want this, but congrats to Leah on your wrench, and congrats to Blue on your wrench. Oh, I see my cousin's here. Hey, Julie. Hey. That's fun. Okay, every now and then I have a family member pop into my lives, and then I'm just like, yeah, you're probably going to be weirded out by this side of me, because like, this is me at work, essentially. Same personality, just like, what is she doing? What is she talking about? So I'm going to take a sip of water. Are we celebrating our wrenches? Yay! Yeah, so to explain that too, it's not necessarily a perk, but just something that I wanted to do as a means of kind of just getting help from people who don't mind helping. I'm giving my longer term patrons mod status on YouTube to kind of help keep things organized here. And so perhaps they can grab your chats and send them over to me. So, sorry, Meegs, my goodness. The way to get your wrench, I would say the way to get your wrench is not to call me rude, but apparently it is, because congrats on your wrench. So I'm gonna have my little control center here. I've got Discord up, and so I will be available for DMs just kind of as a housekeeping thing, mods. If there's anything that absolutely has to be brought to my attention, please feel free to send me a DM. But otherwise, I'm going to be Atticus now. I'm going to be checking that for kind of questions, topics, etc. So as far as I saw earlier today, we didn't have any questions from the audience in the Hello Leash email. Or if one did come in, or not one, if any of them do come in shortly before we do this or during the Basically a Podcast, we may have to address those the next one. So that's okay. Same with the DMs on the Atticus, you're the worst. Same with DMs on the Twitter account. So as of right now, I do have notes here. Excuse me, Atticus. I'm so sorry, because it's clearly your live. I paid for it. the Insider article on David Dobrik, and I did ask you guys over on Twitter to send me any questions if you have them, topics if you have them, but I will say I did ask for nothing Jeff specific. You could probably guess why I would say that, because that is likely what I'm going to be talking about in this week's video. So I don't know. I don't know if there's any way that I can do these without kind of giving away what my topic is, but I also think that these discussions can also lend themselves to my topic each week. So we'll see about that. Or is he the best? I'm checking in with the chat every now and then. It's fun. So yeah, Jeff's thing is it's a whole other thing, because I will say this much. I think that everybody, all these people that arranged this party, this happened, this 5-way that turned into a non-consensual 3-way. I think that everybody who was there, I would say who was of age to drink, but even some of the people who were there that were not, I think everybody bears some amount of responsibility. I don't think Jeff holds nearly as much responsibility as at least 3 other people, but he sure is making himself look pretty bad. So we are going to talk about that most likely in just kind of a main channel video. Also, Atticus, maybe you can hide my neckline here that is way too plunging, that is already being held together by 2 safety pins. So yeah, so hey everybody, now that I'm collected, I think. Disagree, the enabler is a crucial part. And covering gives a predator the chance to get, he is not innocent. Did not say he was innocent, just to be clear. I guess I'll just say this much. I do believe that he's not the one who bought the alcohol. So if we're talking about, a kind of line of responsibility, I would say Jeff is probably like number 4 on the list. So, oh, that wasn't directed at me. That's why I shouldn't be checking the chat when I said I'm not going to be checking the chat. Yeah, there are some people who are complicit. There were some people that played a role. Hint, hint, Todd Smith. I don't think he's getting enough flack for his part in this. But oh, you had a chat and discussion in the chat earlier on. I missed out on it. I'm hoping that in subsequent weeks, even though I work till about 6 o'clock or a little after, and forgot to tell my work that I'm offline now. But I'm hoping that I will be able to get this together and like be able to chat with you guys ahead of time. Otherwise, I may have to push this back to 6:30 or 7. So. Yeah, I see a lot of people that are saying that they should be held accountable. I know a lot of people are thinking David Dobrik needs to be sent behind bars. I don't see that happening, not because I don't think it should happen, but I just think that this is probably set up in such a way that he is kind of, evaded culpability. Not unlike Charles Manson, although he did end up in prison. I do watch Frenemies, Emily. So, and I do think that it's interesting too, that just as a note, like, and I'm not gonna, it's no secret at this point that a year ago I started off being very frustrated with Trisha Paytas and particularly the trolling she was doing around the DID stuff. But then over the course of 2020, she really started to kind of move more in my favor. I really kind of started to appreciate the growth that I was starting to see in her. And I know there are people out there that are like, she's getting too much credit for blah, blah, blah. She's not growing that much. It's like, whatever, you have your opinion. This is mine. But part of that too is looking back on all of the things that I feel like she's been like kind of screaming at us. She's been telling us like David Dobrik and the Vlog Squad, they're awful. This person's awful. That person's awful. They're doing all these horrible things. And it's funny because I see a lot, it's not funny, but a lot of people are talking about how like, oh, why did Trisha wait until Jason broke up with her to even say anything? It's like, she didn't. he broke up with her because she said something about the way that this group handles themselves, particularly in situations dealing with minors or providing alcohol to girls who can't drink or who are not legally of age to drink, to, you know, for the whole topic that we're talking about. She's been telling us these things. And it really wasn't until, in my opinion, it wasn't until she formed this relationship with Ethan Klein and H3 as kind of a production crew, where she kind of had someone to back up her credibility, amplify her voice, kind of give a stable platform to the people that Trisha has noticed are victims. And I fully believe that David Dobrik and the Vlog Squad would not be under fire if it weren't for Trisha Paytas and just her kind of keeping at this. So, hey, Alexis. Yes, I do have a book called 1,000 Nudes. It's really interesting if you want to know the story. It's a very quick story. I took a weekend trip to New York once, and it rained the whole time I was there. So I kind of just hopped from one little shop to another, and I went into an antique shop and found that book. And it's a book full of like vintage, like not vintage, antique nudes, like from the 1800s. So it's, hey, Ash. So it is an interesting book. I for a while there, especially in my 20s, I liked having it as a coffee table book because it's like, oh, who's gonna walk in here and be disturbed by this? But it's still, I mean, it's interesting. So yeah, I mean, like I said, I paid for this Insider article. I was discussing kind of the details among friends, and then as I realized, like, was it this person? Was it that person? What happened here and here? I wanted to make sure that I was getting my details, the story straight. So I said, you know what, I'm going to just go ahead and pay for the access to the article, which, just so everybody knows, you can read the article with the $1 trial membership. Just make sure to cancel it if you don't want to keep the membership. And nobody #watergang me, because that was the last of my water. And if you do, I'm going to have to get up and leave the stream and go fill my water bottle, and you'll have to be without me for 2 minutes. You've got to sit down if we're going to be in here today, bud. So what are the notes that I have on here? I don't know if everybody kind of is very well versed in what the narrative is from that night, that fateful night, November 2018. I know that when people are talking to some of these Vlog Squad members, Atticus, get down. Come on, get down. You guys, I may have to get up really quick and push him out of the room because he is just going to make my life more difficult. So please, please, please give me 10 seconds. Come on, get out of here. Why was it so noisy for her to shut the door? It's because I haven't shut that door yet since I moved in here, and I had a bunch of stuff in the doorway. Okay. I love that guy. I know you guys do too. He was not making this easy at all. Okay. So let's see, where were we? So, sorry, Catechus. Yeah, so just to give you kind of, I want to say a brief rundown. I don't know how good a job I'm going to do because I took notes on the article, and here we have this. Oh my God. I took 5 pages of notes. It was a long article, which I don't mind. I kind of, like, as Ethan said on Frenemies to the reporter, Kat Tenbarge, she did a really good job. They had the story was really set up in terms of giving a timeline for that night, in terms of getting good, credible sources, in my opinion. You know, they didn't just rely on the girl who was drunk and didn't remember the night. And they had DMs to back up the story. They had people like Trisha Paytas to corroborate certain parts of the story. Of course, there's so much footage. Like, it's interesting how do I put this? So much of this, like, even though that vlog of David's was really, like a lot of people have said, it was kind of marketed as like this fun night, right? And not necessarily this like sinister, nasty, ugly, criminal thing that it was. But a lot of the details that are being even kind of debated are there on camera. So it's interesting to me to wonder how much of these like egregious crimes are we seeing almost like a good bit of and just not picking up on it. I'd seen this vlog before. I don't know if I've said this on my channel, but I was a Vlog Squad fan for like 2 or 3 years, a fan of David Dobrik for about 2 or 3 years. And I'd seen this vlog, but I have never cared for any of the Durte Dom content, any of the Big Nick content, any of the Seth content, really any of the content that took place in that apartment. I don't know if it was just because that apartment just seemed dingy or just like, I think it's Dom. I really didn't like Dom. I didn't find any of the jokes about these people to be funny. So I'd seen it, but I haven't like rewatched it enough to be like, hey, like, what about this? And what about that? Like, it never registered to me that David actually says like it's clear that these girls weren't going to have a threesome or a 5-way, but with a stroke of luck and some master negotiating, Dom was able to make his way in or something like that. And it's like, wait, master negotiating? What does that mean? So things like that. There was another detail about Dom being sweaty afterwards. So maybe we should just go through the article. I feel like there have to be at least a couple people out there that are still a little bit foggy on what the timeline looked like. So you've got really, although there were, let me start at the beginning. So in November 2018, David Dobrik put out a vlog, one of his standard vlogs, 4 minutes, 20 seconds long, a scene here, a scene there, a scene here, a scene there. And in part of this vlog in November of 2018, one of the subplots was that David was arranging a 5-way or attempting to. So the whole idea was to get 4 girls to agree to have sex with Durte Dom and to show up to the apartment, and then they would like record it, like I don't know what they were gonna make of it. I mean, I guess it was successful, but it's not like you can like film that. But yeah, I guess it was just to kind of like watch Dom be his gross, dirty, sex addictive self, and then like watch him, celebrate this experience. And so, as far as I understand, I don't know if it was mentioned in this article. I don't remember it being mentioned in the article, but as far as I know, Dom went on Instagram and posted an Insta story asking for anybody who might be interested in doing this with him. And there was a girl. They didn't specify which girl, although I will say that these names that we've heard, like Hannah and Sarah, are not the girls' names. These girls, particularly the primary victim, does not want to be named, does not want her identity out. I won't be sharing clips of the vlog in any videos that I do, because it's clear that they don't want to relive this, and totally understandable. I also think that when somebody does that, when somebody asks to remain anonymous, in my opinion, that is a point toward credibility for that person. So my respect for her, of course, like, it's always there. She's a victim. You believe her, you have respect for her, but even more so the more I hear, like, that she doesn't want to be named. She doesn't want attention from this. She's really just putting it out. And there were just more details that I don't think people are focusing on enough. So let's see here. Okay. So in terms of kind of giving you guys a timeline or a narrative, after Dom arranged put out that Insta story, he did get in touch with one girl who the article didn't name, but one girl who was like, hey, me and my friends are interested, and supposedly sent her friends' Insta handles to Dom, and so that he could take a look at them and be like, yeah, okay, guess they're hot enough, like come on over or whatever. So in the vlog, you see, I believe, 5 girls show up and sit on this couch all around Dom. And one of them says, and the person who says this is Hannah, the victim that we're talking primarily about in this story. And she says at the beginning, just so you guys know, I don't know who you guys are. I don't know who you guys are. And in fact, in response to that, we saw Jason Nash tell her, get the fuck out. So, classy Jason. So, so she talks about how, let me see, I'm reading my notes here. Oh no, it does talk about the original DMs. One of the things, and this is what I love about this article and this reporter, is that this stuff is all falsifiable. So if somebody says that there was a DM and she says that I said this, that can be backed up. So I do kind of trust a good bit of what's here in the article, as like almost none of it is speculative or subjective in any way. A lot of it anyway. Hey mods, if you could just keep an eye out for any messages that are being held for review, because I might not catch them all. All right, so yeah, so they did talk about the DMs, and the original girl who spoke to Dom did ask. She said, the sexy stuff won't be in the vlog, right? And Dom's response was, might need to take a pic to show Dave so he believes me, haha. So right from the get-go, you already see signs of a lack of consent for what was in the vlog, and consent is definitely something that's going to come up a good bit, and just also kind of this creepy, like, you know, we might need to take a picture to show David, because like David said in a podcast later that if he didn't see it, then it didn't happen. So this is just really creepy, and I'm getting cult vibes the more I talk about it. So the article did mention that by the time Hannah asked Dom to have the video removed, it had already had 5 million views, and that they did reach out to Dom for comment. The reporter reached out to every single person who was present for that party. At least the people that we saw in the video, in terms of, obviously she reached out to Trisha Paytas and spoke to her. If you guys know about the Woo Wagon, that's what you're hearing outside, and I apologize, and that's probably going to happen every week. But the reporter reached out to Trisha Paytas, to David Dobrik, Jeff Wittek, Jason Nash, Todd Smith, and Dom. As far as I know, those were the people. Oh, as well as Jonah and Brandon, and they all declined comment, aside from Jeff, and then of course Trisha. What I find to be interesting is that we saw some kind of strange messages come out, videos come out from both Dom and David. And it's clear now that the reason that those videos came out and the way they were worded the way they were was because a reporter reached out to them, and they decided, I'm not going to give my comment to you, but I'm going to go ahead and get in front of the camera before this article is published. That's something to keep in mind. And I don't remember where I heard it was talked about, but Dom did not seem to understand or know that this article was really going to be about an SA that he committed. And so he spoke on like David's pranks on Seth, which is like, we still need to keep talking about that, but that is not what we're talking about right now. So this is this is just the statement from David's attorney. Let me just read it. His attorney said, David will be addressing his community directly. Anyone who knows him knows he does not condone misconduct in any form, which, by the way, is almost verbatim what David said in his video. Vlog participants provide consent before anything is posted. Whenever consent is retracted, posts are removed. Any insinuation of wrongdoing is inaccurate and defamatory. So I find this guy, this attorney, Brian Friedman, to be a major asshole. And I also think that in making this statement, he is effectively gaslighting people like this victim, Hannah, her friends who have corroborated her story, Trisha Paytas, just like anybody who's spoken out against the Vlog Squad and David Dobrik specifically with good reason. And I kind of reading through this article, I kind of like checked back and forth, like on technicalities, is this attorney covered? Like, is he really like, not that I'm an attorney, not that I can determine that, but I'm just kind of checking back. Like, did he say something that directly contradicts what happened? And there's a lot of gray area stuff, but we will see more and more about kind of at what point is this considered consent. And it sucks that that is just not a black and white thing, and it should be. So we already talked about when they arrived, Jason telling her, get the fuck out. And then the other quote, I knew he said this, but really, like, once I was writing it down, I was like, this is so scummy. He did tell her, oh, you have a personality? Hot girls like you usually don't. And that already kind of like sets the stage for kind of this, like Trisha calls it a boys club, this like frat boys club, Brett Kavanaugh type of like mentality that these guys have. And again, not to get too much into the weeds with the Jeff stuff, but kind of like Jeff saying, I respect all women. When he said that, I was just like, but do you though? Like, I don't get that vibe that any of you do. You guys have characters in your vlog that are, well, I was going to say that are solely there for objectification. You know, Corinna Kopp being just a sex object and having nothing else to her personality. At the same time, I think some of the guys are there for that purpose too. But for sure, they treat women that way. They've done that. They did that with Trisha a good bit. They've done that with Tana when she's been in the vlogs. Basically, anybody that's not more famous than David himself. I would say that the Vlog Squad respects women like the Jenners and Kardashians because they're more famous than them. They're all just trying to get a taste of that clout, right? So we have a couple of other characters in this story. We have a girl named Sarah. So this will be easy to remember. Sarah is sober throughout this whole night. Sarah drove there, and this is interesting, and I don't know if I want to talk about it because I don't want to get me in trouble. But it was very apparent from what Sarah and really what I think Hannah as well told this reporter. It was apparent that these girls never at any point considered having sex with Dom. So it's not like, and please hear me out because I'm getting somewhere that I think is valuable to keep in mind. Sarah says that as soon as they started driving over to this apartment, they knew they did not want to have sex with Dom. However, this whole conversation started with one of the girls telling Dom, we'll do it. Me and my friends will do it. And I don't know how many of the friends actually knew that that was the plan, or maybe it was just this one girl. Who knows? That part wasn't really clarified for us. But the one thing that rubs me wrong, but having to keep in mind that David Dobrik, considering his celebrity, deals with this all the time. If people have the opportunity to be in David's vlog or to be around him, they'll take it. And it seems that that's what these girls were doing. That is in no way. mark my words, I want to make this very clear. In no way am I blaming the victim for anything. That is not where I'm going with this. I do believe that these girls just wanted to be in the vlog, just wanted to meet David. And I think that's been said a few times. And I think that they did give Dom and David kind of a false pretense. Doesn't make it consent. It is not consent. But the way I read this article after realizing that, like, oh, they never wanted to have sex with Dom, even before heading over to the apartment, it made me think, okay, I could see, because considering how many people were there, you saw all those people there at the party, like most of the vlog squad. I don't say most of it, like half the vlog squad was there. David was there. David, if you've watched his videos for a few years and watch them closely and follow other vlog squad members, you know that David gets very, I don't want to say desperate. He does get desperate. He gets desperate for content. He puts out big content and entertaining content. But the vlog squad would often talk about just kind of how frantic David would get, especially at a certain hour, like the night before he needs to post a video. And that's why you would see him post videos at like 4 and 5 o'clock in the morning, LA time. So something that I kept in mind while reading this article is I think that Dom, David, and perhaps other members of the vlog squad that were there probably were pretty upset. Were probably pretty disappointed, pissed off, or whatever when the girls showed up and they were like, oh no, we're not going to have sex with you. Because then at that point, you're just dealing with people who just wanted to be there to be in the vlog or to meet David, right? So what I was saying when I was talking to my friends about this is that I think decent people in that position would, even though that's a really scummy and gross kind of premise for a video, that's gross. You're gross. Like, really? Oh, I hit my mic. Sorry. Just that premise for the video is just disgusting. We all understand that. But say they did that, they wanted consenting parties, they reached out, they thought they were getting consent from these people that were excited to do the same thing, whatever, they were going to make a video. If these people showed up and said, no, we never had any intention of doing that, then that's when you call it off. And so I was saying, they could have had every right to be upset with these girls and to be like, please get out of the apartment. You wasted our time or whatever. They had every right to do that, but they didn't do that. They didn't call it off. And so I think that David was so desperate for this content that he was so prepared to be making that night and so prepared to be posting a couple of days later, that instead of scrapping that and coming up with another concept, he was desperate to make that work. And if you followed David Dobrik to this point, you know that he's a bit Machiavellian when it comes to getting the content he wants for his videos. So yeah, so that's what I will say about that. The girls knew, and they've all stated, or at least those that have spoken up have all stated, that they never intended to have sex. They never wanted to. And again, I'll just kind of like put a pin in this. Like, we can ring a bell. I wish I did have a bell with me. Every time that we notice something from the vlogs that is incriminating. And one of them is David saying, after a couple minutes of talking, it was clear that there was no fivesome happening. But by some stroke of luck and some master negotiating, Dom made progress. David stated it was clear this wasn't happening. So before any alcohol was presented in this situation, it was clear, according to David Dobrik, clear that there was no consent given. Whether or not there was consent given to put out the vlog, that's, we're not so sure about that. I suppose by walking in, these girls gave consent by showing up to the party, but then the moment that you give people under the age of 21 alcohol, I don't think that it's definitely not ethical to consider that consent to put the vlog out. Or really, like, anytime you're filming people that are intoxicated. But then again, did he film them intoxicated? No. And that's another one of these weird things that I want to get to. Hannah says that they were saying things to her, like, or to them, like, why aren't you guys being fun? Do something sort of sexy, which you guys have probably seen. Before they were drinking, Dom asked Hannah, can I talk to you? And kind of led her down the hall and then into the bedroom. And once they were into the dark bedroom and he closed the door, that's when she was like, oh, no, wait, I don't want to be in here with you. I want to go out there and be with my friends. He blocked the door. And he was asking her, like, why don't you like me? Why don't you want to date me? Can we hook up tonight? And she was saying no. And at that point, he did tell her, you at least have to give me a kiss, according to Hannah. And so she did, so that he would leave her alone and she could go be with her friends. Then the story talks about, they don't specify who, but they said 2 Vlog Squad members arrived with liquor at that point. Like once Hannah left the room, that's when these 2 Vlog Squad members arrived with liquor. Now we all know more or less who that probably was. And then it kind of cuts to Trisha's side of the story. And she says that she was there for about 45 minutes, that she realized this was not a good situation and left. She said that the girls were clear about not wanting to have sex, that David told Jason to go buy the liquor and Trisha told him no. And that's when they left. She said that she saw Jeff leave for the liquor store. And then by the time they left, he wasn't back yet. And I don't think it's been said enough that Jason owes Trisha a huge thank you for refusing to let him be that person who, to provide alcohol to them and really to be present there. I know I've heard some people say, Trisha's just as guilty for being complicit. And, I agree that there's more that she could have done. I also think, in a sense, I don't know how many of you guys in here are over 21, but considering my demographic, it's most of you. How many of you have been at a party where there are likely 20-year-olds that are drinking? And, what do you do in that situation? If you're uncomfortable with it, do you stay? Do you leave? Do you try to get the girls to stop drinking? Do you call the police? I mean, I would venture to say that most people probably wouldn't call the police. Some people think that she should have done more to, oh, hi, Tiana, thank you. You're just saying thank you. You didn't even have a question. Thank you. So yeah, it's hairy and it's gray because if we were to look at it black and white, Trisha did not do everything she could have. If we were to analyze this from the perspective of what would I have done, I don't as much of a prude as I am and how much I was like a teacher and a big sister and a golden child growing up, I don't think I would have tried to take liquor bottles away from 20-year-olds. I think I would have probably, like Trisha, been uncomfortable and just been like, I'm leaving. I'm not doing this. They're college kids. Like, they're drinking all the time anyway. I don't know. That's not me excusing Trisha for not doing more. I just want to be realistic, I think, about what we expect from anyone. I think if this were anybody else, or if this were somebody that were more in the public's favor, probably we wouldn't be putting the same standards on them. Yeah, Trisha shouldn't have left them there, but it's a party. It was a party with a bunch of college students. If I'm thinking about it, I would see myself. Do you hear Atticus whining because he wants to be let in? I can't. I love you guys and I love him, but we can't. I think that I would probably have attacked it from the perspective of talking to my friends. Using the word friends to mean that Trisha was friendly with the Vlog Squad at that time. I think that's where I probably would have talked to some people and been like, you can't do this. I can't, like, you guys are doing this on film. it's, so many of us can get in trouble. These people are too young to be drinking, that they can't even buy and provide their own alcohol. Like, this is a bad situation. Like, you got to stop. And if she did what she could, then she did what she could. But I at least think that it shines a positive light on her and Jason for leaving, more so than anybody who stayed, if that makes sense. Yeah, I don't think it's necessarily Trisha's place to babysit these girls. And in fact, I might say things that are a little bit controversial here, because if we are going to talk about, and I'll just put it out there, if we're going to talk about being complicit, being culpable, in terms of who was there, it kind of, you start to wonder, okay, so I've established that I think Dom is responsible, obviously. I think that David is responsible to a good degree. I think that Toddy is responsible to a degree, because I believe that he was the one who supplied the alcohol. I believe Jeff was responsible to a degree, because he went on that trip to get the alcohol. So as far as we know. And then, of course, everybody else who was there that was aware that people were drinking underage, and also just know who Dom is and that he was taking girls into that bedroom. So everybody's culpable to a degree, but then you get to the question of what about the 5 girls that were there? I don't think that's a topic that we really want to touch all that much. We don't want to say, like, hey, Sarah, why didn't you do anything to stop this? Tiana, do I think this should go to court? I don't think it will. I mean, Hannah's already told us that she decided against pressing charges. I thought about it and I was like, this might go to civil court. I think that it should go to civil court, at least, to get, to at least cover the pain and suffering that Tiana, you weren't there, were you? That Hannah endured, because as we will kind of like look into the story more, it's clear that like she's either had to undergo or definitely needs to undergo therapy for this situation. But yeah, Meeks, I agree. Trisha removed herself from the situation. I mean, I know that if it were anybody else, like I hate, people hate me when I say this, and like half of y'all are going to click off. But if that were Jenna Marbles in that situation, would you be giving the same criticism? So just keep certain things into perspective. Like when we're talking about criminal matters, we need to take our opinions of these people out of the equation. You have to. I'm talking from a perspective of somebody who really liked David Dobrik. Even up until the moment that this really started being talked about, I liked David Dobrik. I kind of liked Jeff. I liked Toddy enough. I liked Jason. Jason, I kind of started to become disenchanted with him in the past year or so. But there were people there who I'm a fan of. Definitely not Brandon Calvillo. He can eat a bag of dicks. Mariana asked if I think Liza Koshy will make a statement in regard. No, I don't think so. I think that anybody who was or is in the blog squad, aside from Jeff, is going to do their best not to speak on this if they don't have to. I just recently, I've told you guys before that I watch Carly and Aaron, and I haven't so much because like they became very boring in quarantine. I started watching them again, and they just seem very happy, very normal, very themselves, and they're not talking about this. And it's like, in a sense, it's like, what, do you blame them? I mean, they've had to make content and carry their YouTube channels through over the past year without David's help. So at this point, it's like, like I'll go off and do my own thing and not associate with him anymore. And I think that's what a lot of them are going to do. Jeff is dumb as a rock. Yes, he is. But yeah, so that was, where did I leave off? Saying that I think that Jason, it was a really big thank you to Trisha, because she was painted out, and she definitely did a lot. to deserve this, right? But she was painted as that crazy girlfriend, that Jason was the stable one in the relationship, that she was the crazy girlfriend, and that she was the toxic one in this group. And I thought so, for sure. When I was watching, I was like, oh my God, Trisha is embarrassing herself, the way she's acting around these like wholesome people. And she was the one who was like, no, this is bad. We gotta go. This is not a good situation. And for that, Jason owes her a thank you that I don't think she's ever going to get. But I don't think that I think she's having a good time with this, probably. And the other thing, too, that I took note of here is just like how much the Vlog Squad and their fans really kind of discredited Trisha Paytas over the past two years. Yeah, it was February 2nd, 2019 that she made that video that sparked their breakup. And they've, to this, to this day, almost, you just hear from the Vlog Squad and their fans when they do speak up that Trisha's crazy. Trisha has a history of mental illness. She's just got a vendetta for David and Jason. She needs to get over the Vlog Squad. What's the other stuff I've heard? She's bitter because they kicked her out. Blah 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 blah. She doesn't seem to miss the Vlog Squad all that much. She seems to favor certain people. She thought Scotty was pretty nice. I'm trying to think if there was anybody else that she says that she got along with. Kristen McAtee, I think she got along with pretty well. And maybe some of the girls. Alastair didn't do enough and should be accountable. She could have helped, and I've lost a little respect. I mean, you're totally entitled to that. Like I said, I believe what I believe, you believe what you believe, and sometimes those things are closely related, and sometimes they're vastly different. And I hope that you keep watching my videos despite that, because what I love about this place is that we can have these discussions and have kind of like differing opinions on some of these things. Tiana says that Trish and Jason's relationship was so weird. It was very toxic, and I don't use that word a lot, but that is a situation where I would use that word. And thank you for the super chat to both of you. Yeah, so just to kind of breeze through this, because you guys have all heard this before, but something to just highlight, Sarah did say that Todd asked the party what kind of liquor they wanted. Then Jeff and Todd returned with Todd holding the bottle of Jack. And the reason I'm emphasizing this is just because tomorrow, like I said, this week at some point I will likely talk about Jeff's story. And so I do think that technically some of the things that Jeff is saying are true. I don't think he's telling the whole truth, obviously. But keep in mind, he said, no, I did not buy the alcohol. I'll go to any lengths to prove that. And then when asked, did Toddy buy the alcohol? He said, I don't think so. So just think about how these statements would hold up in court. Jeff's statements now you guys are getting like a preview of what probably this video this week is going to be about. But with all of these things that I'm looking at what people are saying and doing, I'm thinking about how that would hold up in court. And if he says, I don't think so, anytime somebody says, I don't think so, or I don't remember, that really kind of absolves them of any sort of like perjury or something like that. As far as I know, to my my knowledge of the legal system. So of course Jeff said he didn't buy the alcohol. He didn't think Todd did either. And then that's kind of where Hannah kind of stops telling anything about the story because she's blacked out. And kind of Sarah takes over, tells the story, and says that she saw Hannah and Audrey go into Dom's room. And because she talked too about how Dom and Hannah were talking a lot and that they were drinking a lot, that she said that people were nudging alcohol in Hannah's direction and she was drinking it. And then Audrey and Hannah went into the bedroom with Dom. And at that point, Sarah saw it and said, oh, well, she's not alone. She's with Audrey. And so she didn't stop them from going into the bedroom. This is one of those things where I'm like, look, reading all of this, it sounds like, Sarah, you cared about your friend. I'm not saying you're a bad friend, but why did you let that happen? Like, you saw that maybe she didn't realize how drunk Hannah was. It's quite possible that the extent to which Hannah was drunk, like we see that they talk about her losing consciousness and stuff like that. it's quite possible that she became drunker as she was in that room. Just, I only chuckle because I'm like, trust me, from the perspective of a raging alcoholic, 8 years sober, yeah, 8.5 years sober. But it's quite possible that Hannah drank enough to where she seemed maybe like kind of buzzed when she went into that bedroom with Dom, but then while she was in there, the alcohol that was in her stomach likely was like hitting her system. That's kind of what it sounds like to me. But of course, like, how can we know? So she did let Audrey and Hannah go into the bedroom with Dom. And she did talk about how people were looking in. And so that was kind of like one of the things that I was curious about, because you see in the vlog, Todd, Jonah, who else? David, of course, was there. Todd, Jonah, and Jeff all kind of like peeked in and stuff like that. And they were saying some really gross things I don't want to repeat. You guys know. Peeking in at them. And so I was wondering, because later we'll talk about kind of like this scene that they reshot. We knew that they shot part of this most likely the next day. So I wondered if part of Jeff's alibi, I guess, is that this whole like peeking in on them scene, was that filmed the next day? If Jeff is claiming that he was only there for 15 minutes or so, then like, did he film this scene where they're looking in on them later? But no, Sarah says that people were looking in on them, and that she said that Hannah did not consent to having sex, but she certainly did not consent to being watched. And I think that that is something also that is not highlighted enough, is that like, at what point is it okay just to like open the door and watch people having sex? Like, that's so messed up. ON says, Emily Baker 97, who says she was there that night, just posted on Twitter. Emily Baker, the lawyer, was there that night? That doesn't, huh? What does that mean? I'm confused. Thank you for the super chat, though. Is that a different Emily Baker? If that's a different Emily Baker, because I know you guys have suggested Emily D. Baker is correct. That's the name of the lawyer that has been commentating on the Katie Joy stuff. Yeah. Oh, not the Emily Baker. Different. Oh, interesting. Okay. So thank you for that information. Then we can kind of go check that out maybe, and see if there's any more firsthand accounts. But yeah, nobody definitely gave consent to being watched. And of course, she said that Dawn locked the door at that point. She did take a video of David asking someone if they had any success looking in and seeing them. And whoever it was he was talking to said, no, the door's locked. This is where it gets pretty disturbing. She says that kind of like after a while, Dom and Audrey came out of the bedroom, and Hannah did not. And so Sarah went into the bedroom to find Hannah kind of just lying limp there in the bedroom. And here's where we find out that Hannah doesn't have any recollection of having sex. Let's see. And of course we know, from everybody that's reported on this that, Audrey was the one who was like, Hannah, just so you know, Dom was performing certain acts on you. I took over to make him stop, blah, blah, blah. It's gross. So then you wonder, how responsible is this Audrey friend who was there? Should she have said at that point, stop? Like, my friend is losing consciousness. That's what she was saying, that you were starting to close your eyes. And that's when she was like, I took over. But why didn't you say stop? And I'm not asking that in the sense that that's how I feel, because so many of us know what it feels like to be in that situation where you're just like, I can't say stop at this point. And I think that's a question that comes up in a lot of these essay situations. Especially like when they go to court and stuff. It's like, why didn't you kick and scream and say stop? And it's like, well, when you're talking about coercion and really just the discomfort, oftentimes that victims feel, the pressure that they feel, to not, especially wanting to make men uncomfortable by saying to stop. So, I mean, if we were having a way to honest discussion and said how many of us have been in that situation where you ended up doing things that you didn't want to do because you were just so uncomfortable and didn't want to make things even more uncomfortable, I think a lot of hands would be raised. So that's why this whole like culpability thing really does get really hairy and gray. But yeah, that was strange and also sad to me. And Hannah remembers being in the room alone. She was worried. Well, her friend who was worried came in and started dressing her because she couldn't put on her clothes herself. They were holding her up. They took her to the bathroom. She passed out in the bathroom. Sarah says they pulled trig, meaning that they put her, either their fingers or her fingers down her throat to make her throw up. They're in Dom's apartment as well as when they got back. And I find this so odd because we didn't see that it was a big party. Like I said, we saw about half the vlog squad there, right? So that was probably like 7 or 8 people. And then the 5 girls that came over. That's not a big party. And so if you have one girl who, by the way, who everybody's paying attention to because she was just part of this threesome, right? And then the door opens. Don't you think that people were aware? I don't believe for a second that they were not, the party goers, the vlog squad were not aware of how drunk Hannah was, if she couldn't even stand up, if she was puking in their bathroom. And all of this right after they had sex. I don't even want to call it that because she was our word. So that, yeah, I find that to be pretty disturbing. And it's just the stuff, the details of what happened like afterwards are really like kind of gross and weird. And I hadn't seen like a clear narrative of what happened. So we hear in Hannah's accounts and Sarah's accounts that after the act of this threesome, they were helping Hannah throw up. They were helping her put on her clothes. They were helping her stand up. And then Sarah provided a photo to the journalist. What's her name? Tenbarge. Kat Tenbarge. Provided a photo, which I didn't see in the article, but if you watched Frenemies last night, Ethan showed it. Ethan went in on Jeff. We're going to talk about that. But provided a photo, and you see this photo, and it's a candid shot of, I guess, like people leaving the party. It looks like it's everybody kind of outside the front door of the apartment, and it shows everybody there. It shows Jeff there. It shows Jonah. I believe it shows David, Jonah, Todd, Jeff, and then some of the girls, and you see the girls actually holding Hannah up. So all this stuff, like I said, the amount of just like evidence, like physical evidence that shows, that backs up like these stories, it's just insane. There's so much of it. The video's cracking. Oh no. Do you hear me fine, or do you hear my neighbors walking? Because they are loud as hell. So, where are we? Yeah, so it's just so odd to me that they went on with this vlog, that they went on with their lives after, like, at the very least, maybe they thought that this girl went into the room with Dom and wanted to do the things that they did. But the moment that ended and Dom and Audrey came out of the room and Hannah was still lying limp in the bedroom, why weren't more people concerned? That's what I want to know. And I would love to ask that to the other people that were there. Hey, Brandon. Hey, Jeff, Todd, David. Like, where were you when they came out of the bedroom? But of course, like, none of them are taking any sort of responsibility. They're acting like they weren't even there. And so that's really sad. And then the other thing too is that now we know that the scene where in the vlog where you see Dom is like all sweaty, he's like, you know, drenched, and he's like, they're laughing, and he thanks David and gives him a high five, and then like has Alex smell his fingers, and then Alex makes a joke that it smells like Brandon's sister, which that's probably going to come back and haunt him. they've now admitted that scene was not shot that day. It was the next day. And obviously, because Hannah wasn't there. None of the girls were there in that scene. And yeah, they, like they said in the article, it almost seems as if they were trying to make it seem like this happy, jovial thing that it actually was not. Now that I think about it, if this threesome were to have happened by honest means, with just girls who were sober and wanted to do it, for sure David would have interviewed them afterwards. For sure. We've seen David like make fun of people who are hooking up and then kind of like give the video of Todd and Corinna in the back of his Tesla. He has no problem putting people on the spot after they've committed a sexual act. So it's just, again, it's another one of those things that you don't really notice it in the moment, but now looking back, you're like, oh yeah, like the girls weren't there in that scene. What's going on? So yeah. Apparently when Hannah did talk to Dom the next day and kind of gave consent to being in the vlog, she said she was still extremely drunk that next morning. And I believe the way they described how drunk she was sounds like she might have had alcohol poisoning. And if she had alcohol poisoning the night before, she very well was drunk the next morning. Thanks, Mud, whatever you're doing. And so, yeah, that's when she told Dom, anything at your discretion is okay for the vlog, just that a future employer could use against me. And that's something that we hear from Hannah a lot. Like, she doesn't want her identity to be shown because of future potential employers. And that's another thing. She was like, I didn't like that so many, once this vlog was out, not only the people at her school, her friends, her sister, strangers were all coming up to her like, hey, I saw you in David's vlog. You were in David's vlog. Oh my God, that was amazing, blah, blah, blah. And here is where she starts kind of like having to relive this experience over and over again. And she's concerned, like, oh my God, what if a potential future employer sees this? So it's another one of those things that is just another, like, not that she needs it, but I think the more credibility your victim has, the better, obviously, right? And so to me, the fact that she does not want to be seen, does not want her name and face attached to the story, it just tells me how much more believable it is. Yeah. So we already talked about the scenes that were reshot. Yeah, the other thing too, yeah, she does say, either Sarah or Hannah said, that they do believe that this clip inside the Tesla was from that night, because the guys were wearing the same clothes in the Tesla in this shot as they were the night before. And another thing that bothered me is that they all left at the same time. Like, I guess that's not that weird for a party for everyone to leave at the same time, but they were there for 2 hours, had sex, and then everybody, including David, left. It's scummy to me. It's like, you were just there to get those shots and then get the hell out of there. Because when you see that, that's why I said kind of in that photo, it looks like everybody's leaving. They said that David was leaving at the same time in his Tesla. And so that's when you see they get in the car. David says, Dom just had a threesome, and I think we're all... And then the article says it was Todd, but I thought it sounded like Brandon, but somebody said going to jail. And then David said, I think we're all going to jail. And then Brandon said, see you in 20 years. Let's see. Tiana says, how would David react if he had to do the thing he makes his friends do? There is a reason that he is behind the camera, for sure. He completely exploits people. And to some degree, his friends have allowed that until they're starting to see the negative repercussions of it. That's why I said he's very Machiavellian. I don't think that he's employing any empathy. And now I understand why Trisha has talked so much about, like, David seemingly having a total lack of empathy. and you see it because so many people's lives, I don't want to say are ruined, but to some degree have been ruined by these vlogs. And I was gonna say David's is not, but he's having his day now. Kind of as Ethan put it, that Trisha's dancing on his grave. Dama Lama, your message was retracted, but I thank you for the super chat. My goodness. Alistair says, how can anybody defend what they did? Anyone who defends this, anyone who protects this are just as guilty. This makes me so angry. Sorry, I'm so mad. Don't be sorry. It's angering. It's maddening. I don't think anybody really can defend what they've done. And I don't think anybody wants to look at the other girls that were there that night, but to them too, to a degree. There's the conversation around like really hyper focusing on people like David, Jeff, Todd, and Dom. There's that conversation, and then there's a conversation of looking at everybody. And I do think that in a way those are two separate conversations, because definitely that was a situation where everybody could have done something, even if it's just, like I said, taking Dom and David aside and being like, this fucked up. We're not, like, if you're going to continue with this shit, I'm going to call the cops. Like, for sure, any of the adults at that party, including the 20-year-old girls, could have done that, but instead they kind of soldiered on as if it was just like a house party. So, Lily, I like your face. When was the last time I told you I like your face? You pay me $2 to give me a compliment. That's so nice. Thank you. But yeah, that's something to keep in mind. I think there is a conversation to have about everybody who was even witness to this in any way, including Trisha and Jason. And then there is a conversation just about kind of realistically who should we hyper focus on. So both conversations are very valid. But yeah, the boys did joke about going to jail. It's like, why? Why would they joke about going to jail if these girls came over and decided? Because David also talked about it a couple of days later, or no, the day that he posted the vlog, I think. He went on, I don't know who Travis Mills is, but he went on Travis Mills' podcast, and David said, when they all got there, they were like, oh no, I don't want to have sex. I don't want to have sex. So again, David, self-incriminating. He tells Travis Mills when they all got there, they were like, oh no, I don't want to have sex. I don't want to have sex. Except two of the girls wanted to have sex, he said. He doesn't say what's a master negotiating, because then what's the guy's going to ask is going to, like, how did you guys negotiate that, right? I would ask that, like, what negotiating? How did that happen? But if you really did have two girls who were genuinely excited to, or in willing and wanting to have sex and have this threesome with Dom, why would there even be room for a joke about going to jail? You know? So again, it's another one of those things. It's like self-incrimination, but also, how did we miss this? Myself included, because I've seen this before. And at the time I was just like, ugh, Dom stuff, I don't care. But in retrospect, it's like you had every reason to believe that something sinister was going on. You, meaning me, meaning myself, meaning I'm looking back on the content that I consumed and the creators I supported, and David Dobrik is one of them. This is the last page of my notes. And Hannah again reiterates that the blog misinterprets everything, misrepresented everything, made it look like it was a fun time when it really didn't show like her and how drunk she was. And then, so this is the part that I found the most disturbing. And I should have given a trigger warning at the very beginning of this. Oh my God, you guys, I'm the worst at this. I'm so sorry. You guys know this. I'm the worst about trigger warnings. If you haven't been triggered yet, just letting you know it's going to get worse. But I hadn't heard this spoken about. It said that 1 month later, after the night of drinking, I heard mention of this, but I didn't realize it was a month later. There was a night that the friends went out drinking. And then when they were in the cab on the way home, I believe it was Sarah that said, hey, or the next day, this was in December. Sarah came to Hannah the next day after they had gone out drinking and said, hey, do you remember having a panic attack in the cab? Apparently, Hannah was saying over and over again, I was R-worded. I was R-worded. I was R-worded. Oh my God, I was R-worded. And this was a month later while she was drunk, having a panic attack. So that's super disturbing. Tiana says, we didn't want it to be true. I think that's why. You're probably right. For sure, because I liked David. She said that she was not pursuing legal action because she was so intoxicated. I don't know exactly what that means. Like maybe because she doesn't remember much or what. I think she would have had a case still. I don't know what the statute of limitations would effect that would have on her trying to do something now, but she did reach out to Dom at one point. I think it was 3 months later. She said, I respect your wish. She sent him a really long DM, which I think was smart on her part to really write out like the narrative as far as she knew, like this happened and this happened and this happened. You gave me alcohol. I was drunk. I was not able to consent. You did this to me, blah, 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 blah. I felt taken advantage of, etc. Really long DM. And then Dom's response was, okay, I respect your wishes. The video's down. But the really, really sad part is that in addition to the whole like being in the cabin saying I was R-worded, she also noted that sometimes she has panic attacks when she's drinking now. She's kind of like having flashbacks about that. It says that sometimes when she has sex after drinking, she'll just start crying uncontrollably. And then she also has nightmares about being R-worded. That she didn't have before this situation. And I just think that that's so sad. I was going to say like, oh, maybe I'll tell you guys something personal, but you guys if you watch my videos, then you know that happened to me where I was completely unconscious. I was passed out. That happened to me. Let me see. Put a pin in this. Dom Malama says, I don't know why it retracted. I wanted to say, and then you still paid me more money. You didn't need to do that. I wanted to say, no, stop. And declining consent puts the victim in danger from how sensitive and reactive the perpetrator becomes. That's a good point. I mean, yeah, like just wanting to get him to just like, yeah, in those moments, you might just be like, I just want it to end. I just want it to end. I just want it to end. How do I do this without agitating him? Totally valid point. But yeah, just like Dina says, it never leaves. And it was interesting because I talked to it was a healer at a shop, a woo-woo shop. I talked to a healer about what happened to me. She actually asked me what happened at the certain time. She gave me a specific year and asked what happened. And I was like, yeah, but I don't think that I said, yeah, but I was passed out. Like, I don't remember anything about it. So I genuinely don't think that it's like messing with my mind. And I remember she said, you might not remember, but your body remembers. And of course, that's a healer, right? So what are her credentials? I mean, you guys are all along the spectrum of believing how much that's bullshit and God's honest truth, right? But then I talked to my therapist about that. And I said, I talked to this healer and I told her, I don't know if this is affecting me because I don't remember any of it. I mean, the circumstances around when it happened to me affected me, but the actual act itself, I have no recollection of. So, and my therapist kind of parroted what this healer said. Yep, absolutely. Your body does remember these things. And so it's just so sad to me that, like, even if you wanted to give these guys the benefit of the doubt and think that they talked themselves into thinking that they weren't doing anything wrong, that she seemed like she wanted it, or, you know, she was drunk, she's not going to remember it anyway, or whatever they might be telling themselves, you really don't know how much you're fucking with somebody's mind and the rest of their lives. So that's why when was it Tiana who asked if I think this should go to court? Like, I do think that she deserves some sort of reparation for what she underwent, if nothing else than to fund whatever therapy she needs for this. I would venture to say that probably a lot of people who were victims or just angered by these situations are probably getting a good bit of satisfaction out of just watching these people like crash and burn right now. David Dobrik is like losing everything active that he had going on. And I was going to go more into like, bye Lolly. I see everyone saying bye. I was going to go more into like what I think is going to happen to the vlog squad. And I can just touch on that in the last couple of minutes we have here. But let me see. Might have gotten a DM. No, I got to mention. Tiana, you're so nice. Too kind, too generous. I know that sometimes going through a trial for this is very mentally draining, especially if you can't remember what happened. Sadly, people don't come forward because of the process. Yeah, this is so like, this topic is so difficult for people. And so that's why when I was saying earlier, like, why didn't Audrey say this? Why didn't she do that? And even the girls that were there at the party, even the bystanders that we say are responsible. Why didn't anybody say, like, stop? It's because these situations are so uncomfortable and it's so difficult, particularly for the victims, to ask for somebody to stop. And how many of us have been in a situation where we have asked for it to stop and it didn't stop, and eventually you give in. Like I that's another thing that I hear a lot about in terms of people experiencing various forms of the R word and various forms of coercion and lack of consent. So yeah, and for sure it's a patriarchal thing. I mean, patriarchal. It's due to the patriarchy. For sure it is. It's a society that we live in, and we still have a ways to go. Me Too, which kicked off like 2015, 2016, definitely has started to propel us in a positive direction with this, to where people can feel more open with speaking about their experiences and having at least finding people, on the internet, for as an example. You can go out and share your story, and chances are people will come to you to support you. We are nowhere near perfect. The Me Too movement is still young. And so as an example, the girl that was R-worded by Dom at VidCon in 2017, I think it was, she made her own video about her experience, and she experienced what I went through last summer with the hate mob. She experienced that surrounding a situation where she talked about her SA. Like, I can't imagine just how, like, if I think about what I felt with that situation, I can't even, like, I can't imagine what that's like when you're talking about people discrediting your experience with that. I had a little taste of it. Not where people didn't believe me, but where people just kind of treated me like I was like a slut for what happened to me. And I think that is far more common. What happened to me was in 2012. So it was like pre-Me Too. And all this stuff is still, that's all fairly recent, less than 10 years ago. And I just remember growing up, when I was a kid and a teenager, you hear this stuff, like, there's so much of like, if she's dressed like this, she's asking for it. If she's getting drunk, she's asking for it. They're just, seen an Animal House where like the girl's drunk and passed out, and like the guy's got the angel and the devil on his shoulders telling him to do it or don't do it. It's been such a common thing for so long to treat women as sexual objects. And at the very least, some guys were taught to respect women to an extent, but like, there are certain signs that are like, she's asking for it, like, she's asking for it. Daniel Tosh has a joke about it, and it's super sarcastic, but I think it would be very disturbing to people who didn't appreciate the sarcasm. But yeah, like, she wouldn't dress like that if she didn't want to get blah, 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 blah. Or, there's just so much that women have to do to protect themselves, just to maintain their right to safety. Like, I'm a woman too, but like, I'm just looking like outside and thinking about how it's starting to get dark. So every night I think about it, like, oh, I can't go take out the trash now because the trash cans are outside and it's dark. Can't do that. If I were a man, absolutely, I'd go take the trash out, no problem. Wouldn't think twice. Same thing about, like, when women go to their cars in a parking garage. Like, how many women, like, put their keys in between their fingers, or have mace or something like that, or just are paranoid and on guard. Oh no, did I? Let me see. I didn't miss a super chat, right? Yeah, that was from Tiana. But I think, all of the women in the room probably know that feeling of just not being safe. And it's kind of, for most of us, it's just what we all we know. I remember my dad, before I went to college, telling me, you need to take self-defense classes. And it's just like, I remember even at the time being like, why should I? And it's sad. It's sad that, we have a right to feel safe in any situation, and yet we're not. And the onus is put on us women to find ways to protect ourselves and to feel safe. Don't get drunk at parties. Do have a friend. I remember one time I was at a bar, and there was a guy that my friend Christina and I were talking to. Nice guy. He went to go get us waters. He came back with 2 waters, and me, being the gullible fuck that I am, I didn't, or the trusting person that I am, I was thirsty and I started downing that water, and Christina did not. And she told me afterwards, she was like, you just drink that water that some guy we don't know brought you. And so I wasn't going to drink it because I had to watch out for you and make sure that you were okay and that, you weren't roofied. So it's just like, if you can, it's good to have friends like that are vigilant like that, but we shouldn't have to be. So yeah, it's stuff like that. It's stuff like, you got to learn self-defense classes. You got to have mace on your keychain, or like a taser or whatever. Like, we should not have to do these things. Men don't have to do these things. And on top of the fact that we're already unsafe just in nature, like, you're dealing with men who are generally larger beings than women. So we're especially unsafe because we are more diminutive on the whole. Tiana says, my high school had an essay defense course for seniors. Yeah, and it's so it's good. It's good that we have these options that'll help us in the event that these things happen, but they shouldn't be happening. So and it sparks a whole other conversation, which, is for another day. But, I remember growing up and hearing how, you hear guys whose partners were expecting, if they were expecting a child, they'd be like, oh, I hope it's not a girl, because I couldn't handle the stress of having a girl. I can't handle having a daughter. Oh, that's so much stress, because my dad thought that every single boy in the world was just out to hurt me. My dad loves me. My dad wanted me to be safe, but and thankfully my parents raised amazing sons that, to as far as I know, have never mistreated women that I know of. So we're lucky in that regard. But I've always wondered, why do we place so much emphasis on teaching our daughters to protect themselves? Why is that stressful? Why isn't it just as stressful to be like, oh God, we're having a boy. That means you should be working double time to make sure that you're raising a son that knows how to respect people, and to not make women feel unsafe in any situation that they're ever, the amount of respect that boys are taught to pay to girls, and then, of course, they turn to men and women and people, and we're not living in a binary world, but just for the sake of simplicity of this conversation, hopefully we're moving in the right direction, but it's going to take some time, man. It's going to take time. So yeah. And as far as the Vlog Squad and David Dobrik, I think he's losing all of his sponsorships, and I think that he's going to be fine. I think that he probably, my guess is that he's going to step out of the public eye for some time. I think he's got plenty of sources of income. I'm sure he's smart enough to where he's put some money away, and that he's, put money in stocks and shit like that. So I think that he's going to be fine. His friends, however, who don't have as much put away or as many opportunities, kind of like we're seeing what's happening with Jeff, is that they're losing their sponsorships, and now they're the ones that are more frantic. David, I think he's going to be fine. I think he'll probably go away for a little while, and then probably come back in a couple of years, or not. Because he's made so much money. That kid can retire at I say kid just for the emphasis of how young he is. Super young. And if he wants to retire before 30, he can. If he wants to retire before 25, he can, and he might have to. And that's kind of just where we are. So I have a child's mentality. That's not nice. Let's see. Do I think his legal status will be contested? I don't think so. Because I'm going to be honest with you, I think, this is kind of what I said earlier, but I think from a legal and technical perspective, I don't think that David is, in a legal sense, as guilty as we perceive him to be. As we, like, from a moral standpoint and a legal standpoint, those are two different things. From a moral standpoint, he wanted to stage this. He arranged it. He made it possible in many ways, or easier to do. He facilitated this. That's what I'm looking for. He facilitated this. But from a technical perspective, did he do anything more than be present where people were drinking underage, just like the rest of them? I don't know. That's why I get it now when people say Charles Manson vibes. So, all right. Well, yeah, we're not going with the narrative that boys will be boys. We're done with that. That age is over, and I'm so happy for that to be done. I mean, I'm not saying it is done, but I'm happy to move in the direction where we aren't thinking like that anymore. But yeah, this was our first episode of basically a podcast. I don't know if it's fair at all to call this basically a podcast, but is there really a big difference between what we're doing and a podcast? The difference is I'm not wearing headphones, and I'm not going to be uploading this to the streaming platforms. So thank you, Julie. Thank you guys. I had a lot of fun. I mean, like, of course, like, not fun talking about this topic, but I realized that time flew talking to you guys. I love talking to you guys. I love that. Well, let me be clear. I love that you guys give me the opportunity to just talk and to get things off my chest. That's why I started this channel. I've told you guys a million times, just want to talk. And you guys let me do that. So thank you. I would like to continue doing this. Most likely on Mondays. And I don't know if we're going to keep it at 6 o'clock, maybe 6:30. We'll see how things go next week. Obviously, I was frantic at the beginning of this, but at the same time, we still made it happen, right? So, if you could please give this a like. Thank you, Leah. Leah just got her mod status at the beginning of this. She got it an hour and a half ago and already is doing a better job of managing my YouTube platform than I am. Yeah, if you could please give it a like before you go, just to help me out. And all the people that hopped in to chat with me, I really appreciate you being here. Like now my mods are like doing all kinds of promo for me. Join Patreon if you have the ability to and you want to. Of course, it is a really, really good time there. Subscribe if you haven't, but if not, so I'm just happy that you were here. So don't make it later. It'd be too late for Europe. I know I try to keep the Euro squad in mind with these sorts of things. And I want to make sure that whatever I do, I'm making it feasible for a lot of people that I cannot do. There's not a life that I can do that is a reasonable time for everyone around the world. So I'm just keeping in mind like how much time, the minimum amount of time I need between my work day and doing this. So I don't even know if my boss was trying to talk to me while I was finishing or setting this up. So I'm going to check on that. Okay. And Maggie, before we head out, says there's an amazing book about PTSD called The Body Keeps the Score. I'm an SA survivor with PTSD. You're spot on about this. Thank you. Thank you on behalf of my entire audience today for that recommendation. The Body Keeps the Score. Thank you for that, Maggie. Anyway, so if you are one of my patrons, I'll talk to you in just a little bit over on Discord and our upcoming meetings. And I will go give pets to Atticus because this was hell for him waiting outside the door. And hopefully, hope to have more on this topic for you guys, most likely Thursday. This will not be unlisted. These things will be, so long as they're appropriate for the audience, then, which this is, I think. I mean, it's a heavy topic, but these will stay public. So there will be more or less like podcast episodes. Oh, thanks, Rosie. Thank you to everyone. Thank you. I'm so excited to do this again next week. And you guys know that I am the worst at signing off. So I just need to do it. To you, the one person who's watching, who's not me. To the 472 of you who are not me, I love you dudes. I love all of you. Even to the ones who might be here hate watching or just unsure about me, I love you. I do. I actually do. And so I'm gonna go hang out with my boys and put together some furniture. Oh my God, I get to do that. I love it. All right, I'll talk to patrons in a bit. I'll talk to the rest of you guys next week. Bye. Love you.